Hey, this is probably the last one of the day, and for a little bit of time I realized this is probably some stuff that probably ought to be shared. So I'm going to do that to try and simplify this, which is sort of a condensation or sort of pulling in all the data, or if you will, the information, the experiences. In other words, sort of being more concise. It's just like, here's the puzzle, okay? You either get it or you don't. Because it's actually pure logic, or what we used to call when I was a child, common sense. Okay, because you can means test the experience, and the experience is the teacher. Okay, and the experience, which is the teacher, is based on what? Energy. The energy experience, and we can put a value on the energy we are experiencing. Okay. So we realize, because I realized it, through being aware of it, that there are beings on this planet that do not like our energy. It's too powerful for them. Okay? It's way too creative. It's way too imaginative. It's far too powerful. Okay? And the unfortunate sadness or pain for me is knowing that and being aware of that. Okay? Because I experience it. So I thought this would be a simple way to sort of just put it out there, because I realized that we're running out of time. And I first became aware of running out of time is a word that they use, because I didn't invent it, okay, called stellar activation, which is star activation. Some people in the ET or the cosmic community call that star seed activation, soul activation, which means we're now activated to do what? You are aware that the rate of change, which is the acceleration of the consciousness in which we are now headed, which is a direction, is changing. Okay? That's why I knew, as I mentioned in the past, why I left the forest, living out of a tent with my four-wheel drive truck, to sort of escape all the lower density consciousness so I could always be with her energy, rather than lower density consciousness energy like going into a town or a city, etc. Okay? So the first thing that I did was do what? Got into a motel room, bought a laptop, and spent 16 hours a day doing nothing but collecting data. And when you're running a powerful vortex that is spinning data at an extremely high rate of speed, you're kicking out, sorting out, kicking out, sorting out, kicking it out, which basically is perusing through and collecting data through all the YouTube videos, all the scientific journals that were reporting on this, that. What I'm actually measuring is the health of the planet, taking a pulse. Remember, like I mentioned before, when I was a child coming in here, which is measuring what we call a frequency distribution map, which means how much light do we have in here, how much light are we losing versus how much light are we gaining. Okay, which is, again, frequency wars, which are genetic wars, which are star wars, because they are electric wars. Okay, so without getting into all the off-planet stuff, even though obviously that is a big part of the measurement and the scale to things of why we experience what we do here on this planet. So I thought to myself, the way to just sort of condense this down, and this is what I always ask as a question, okay? And that is, when it starts in the beginning with a child, it begins with, who are you learning from? Who are children learning from? Okay? So it's like I mentioned to three women that were sitting out here at this park yesterday, when I was observing three other young people that were probably around 13 years of age, I guess, two girls and a guy, right? And he had his Levi pants down, hung over his butt, and he pulled out a cigarette. And I thought, well, it's not for me to decide for these young teenagers how to live their lives, but what I'm doing is observing what essentially is a program. Okay, robots. And the reason that I know that is because when I look at somebody, I'm saying, okay, the pants that you're wearing, the way that you're wearing them, picking up a cigarette, where did you learn how to behave that way? They're mimicking, because I can go look at a lot of people that are wearing their pants down, so part of their butt is showing, okay? So what are they doing? They're copying other beings. They're copying what others do, okay? So in other words, they're exhibiting pretty much the same behavior, okay? Well, that's their free will to do that, okay? But what I do is I look at causality. Why? Okay? What explains that behavior versus a different behavior? Who they're learning from. Carnival barkers. Okay? So in other words, they weren't creating anything of their own, okay? Meaning they're an original artist. They're simply copying what others do, which is a program. They're copying the information, represents the data, which represents the experience of what they're experiencing. Okay? So that's how it works. So when I think to myself when I was a child, why is it that I was always running out of the house and not wanting to be in a public school classroom and preferring to be out in nature? That's a question. There's one answer. I love her energy. She's more powerful energy. Okay? I prefer to be with more powerful teachers. Okay? If I want to learn something and I have a question and I want to go fast and experience as much of the universe as I possibly can, I'm not going to go into a public school classroom, I assure you. I'm going to find out from the being that is providing the energy in the planet ship that I'm in. Okay? That's a powerful spirit. How'd you become so big? Where did you get all this energy? That's her classroom. We're in a classroom. So this is where you get down to whose classroom did you choose to learn from? Hers or theirs? Okay? Because there's a big difference when you think of what best serves us, okay, energetically and learning-wise, okay? If you want to learn, okay, from the right classroom, you can choose whatever classroom you want. But why did so many millions of beings choose to go into their classrooms, okay, instead of learning from the girl on the planet who's running a classroom in the Milky Way University campus system? So if I know that, which is who I choose as my teacher when I'm here to be with her, and yet you have so many other millions of beings that are choosing to go to their classrooms, because now what you have is thousands, if not millions of people that by the virtue of being in those classrooms, okay, ended up causing what? What is the truth? What is the truth? What is the truth? They weren't learning from her. They began to realize that the very schools that they were learning from was information that's put into the unconscious memory, from which when they look back in the way that a timeline works, which future behavior proves past information. The data that you're running on represents a live stream timeline. So they wanted beings to put into their tabula rasa, a black disk, if you will, a blank disk. We're going to put all that information into your child's head, okay? And they will operate on that information in the future. And the future that they operate off of will prove the past programming. And that programming is represented by what we experience, by what we can measure, in the planet. Which means that the input of the information results in the output of the toxicity. You follow? That's metadata. That's why, for example, salmiak, which is a volcanic sublimate, which is a crystal, it's a salt, they were doing their level best to see to it that a lot of people weren't aware of that and didn't have access to that. And why is that? Because it allows you to push out an enormous amount of toxic metadata at a very high rate of speed, which means you're getting rid of all the garbage, which represents the programming, which is the input data. Okay? So that means in the beginning, we're talking about, as Robert David Steele would say, data integrity. Where'd you get all your data? From the dark. So you're operating on dark data. Yeah. So you're choosing to run on their data rather than her data. Okay? So when you're hanging out with powerful spirit and powerful energy that lives in the light, you're learning from a different teacher, aren't you? That's why the Indians are here. They are the teachers, the healers, and the peacekeepers. That's why they all had to be killed off. That's why an Indian reservation represents a POW camp. So the last thing in the world they want is for you to learn from us. Because we've been here all the time. Okay? So that means Gaia Shaman Patty Broussard, for example, she knows who's here, who all the androids are, the hybrids, how many hybrids we have, soulless clones, if you will, okay, and the nature of the battlefield, who the bad guys are, who the good guys are, and the nature of how this battle's being fought, and who won. We did. We don't operate on corrupted data because we can time vector and value date that data. It represents the communicator, which is the carnival barker that is giving you the data, which is the information that we thus experience that doesn't serve us because we put it in memory and we operate off that information. Thus, we become what that is. We believe that that information has value. Really, it does? Well, then why is it that we are experiencing so much toxicity that we're now having to kick out as metadata? Which means every time that you are perspiring, every time that you exhale, every time that you take a crap, okay, what do you think that is? That's data. That's energy. It represents things that the body wants to expel out of itself as a result of toxic input, which can all be numerically quantified and qualitatively assessed by doing a data analysis, or if you will, a comparative data analysis, which is a comparative analysis of metadata. And that goes back to a previous video that I talked about metadata analysis. What is represented by the metadata that we are experiencing. And we tag it with an energetic value. And the energetic value is represented by density consciousness. So if you want to experience higher density consciousness, then you want to learn through higher density consciousness, which in this case would be the girl in the planet. Because this is her classroom. So welcome to Star Wars. So that's why I've said from time to time is that they were always trying to disconnect as many people as they could, to put everybody in their classroom, just like they did to the Indians in the 1800s, right? You can't do the ghost dance no more. You can't do any of your spiritual rituals anymore. We're going to pull you out of the land from whence you lived, Okay, and we're going to put you on reservations, and you're going to be assimilated by the way that we do things. You're going to run on our data. You're no longer going to be able to sing and dance with her. You're going to do things the way we do things. You're going to live in our civilization. You're going to operate on our time clock. And that's exactly what happened to them. So I know, for example, when I talked to Dean Chambers, who's another AB-positive bloodline White Bear Clan member, and Karen Ann Luke McDonald, who's my clan mother, which is known as 13th White Bear Clan mother, okay? Our fellow AB-positive bloodline clan, and there isn't many of us. Only 3% of the people on the planet have our bloodline. Okay? Blood, plasma. How much juice you running on? So anyway, the reason that I say a lot of this is the importance of when we examine, for example, Black Lives Matter, okay, all the young people that are coming out of these universities that are protesting, we want change, we want to do this, okay? It's sad, it's painful, actually, because they are a product of the program, and they don't even know it. And what's even worse is that if you try and put the mirror up and say, this is the mirror, this is the programming, this is how it works, they will cut it off. Okay? That's how bad it is. In other words, they're not receptive to higher frequency density consciousness information. Better data. They're running on the data that they run on because it's in their memory, and their behavior is showing the data that they run on. That's what happens. That's how bad it got. So that's why I said to those women yesterday, you realize we're surrounded by robots, fully programmed units. They're running entropic programming, which means they're running on a timeline that they believe that they're on that is meant to collapse. They don't run on timeline 0, do they? So this is where we get into, if you want to look at it through a teacher's perspective, and I hold a classroom and I got 25 students in that classroom, how many students am I graduating out of here that when they come out of that classroom, they're living in love and service to others? And we can measure that by how much light they're attracting, by the way, which means the size of their spirit light body. Measure that all across the planet. And you begin to realize how many we didn't graduate. Because graduation was in 2013. That's why with me, this is what we call after-school tutoring. Because I'm always with a girl on the planet. So, when realizing we're running out of time, it's like another Kanaka Mahoe that lives in the Hawaiian Islands, and she put it to me, I only work with the able. Okay, trying to deprogram or to get somebody to unlearn everything they think they believe in is like telling them that everything that they run on, which is what it is that they experience, is all bullshit. Okay? So which means when they look in the mirror, they're going, you mean to tell me that everything that I experience is a result of what I believe in, that has been put into the memory, going all the way back to my early childhood, and actually goes back before that through cellular memories, all the way back through the female mitochondria? Yes. That's why when I was a child, I had to figure out, okay, how many generations does this go back? How many generations have they been killing each other off? How many generations have been collapsing their timeline? How many souls have been harvested here? How much electrical energy has been harvested here? Oh my God, that's a huge calculation. So I had to do that. So I have to go back to the beginning. And then what I did is I fast forwarded. So what is the speed in which people are learning? Which is the speed at which you're attracting light, which is based on the speed through which you are learning through who? Them or her. Okay? That's another calculation. That's another measurement. This is how we measure classrooms in the Milky Way galaxy. Okay? which can be measured on a larger scale on how much light we're running in this galaxy, how much light we're running throughout Laniakea, how much light we're running in the universe. So it's like the other day when I mentioned to everybody, here's an update. Okay, how do I know it's true? Because I experience it through my heart, which is my vortex. The light doesn't lie to you. Because what I experience in my heart is where all that love is, which is where all that light is. So I was experiencing the spin, which is the same spin rate of the Milky Way galaxy. It's speeding up, which means the light is going faster. Yay! I was experiencing the increase in the light speed, or the speed of the waveform communication, which means more light, which means the light is being raised throughout the Milky Way galaxy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like, we're winning, da-da-da-da. So when you are feeling more light in your heart, which is feeling more love in your heart, then you are in alignment with the teacher in the classroom. Not their classroom, her classroom, this classroom. Because when you are love and service to others, it means you're not even having to think about the energy that you're always giving away. It just happens automatically. That's what unconditional love is. Which means you're not going to give me anything in order to feel the energy that I'm giving away, because you can experience it. And I'll give you and leave you with one example. When I was in, what was that? A public defender's office over a ticket that I got. More rule-driven shit. Okay, in order to harvest money out of your butt, which is to harvest energy out of your butt. The metadata, right? Okay, so in this particular case, there was a woman that was sitting across from me about 5 feet. And this is sort of how it works. You know, when you're running a higher state of awareness, which is higher density, you're already aware of what they're aware of. But they're not aware of what you're aware of. Okay? Because you're running out more data. You're running out more light than they are. And so I was aware that she was aware of me. And I could essentially read what she was thinking. So I said to her, I said, you're reading, I said, you can feel my energy, can't you? And she went like this. She was with her boyfriend. I said, that's powerful energy you're feeling, isn't it? She shook her head and I said, right. Put my thumbs up. That a girl. That's what love is. That's what light is. Okay? So that's an example of how unconditional love works. Which means she could feel the power of that love and that light that was being broadcast. Okay? Because I wasn't even aware of it until I was aware of what she was aware of, being aware of my energy. So what happens is that in real time you're measuring the difference, because you're aware of it, between one density consciousness and the other. Now she's aware of higher consciousness. Now she's aware of higher frequency energy. More light, more love, more power. So someday you get a classroom just like her. That's how powerful she is. So who do you want to learn from? So I'll leave you that for the day to, how do I put it? Experience her. Because when I communicate with you, she's communicating to me because I experience her energy. And as a conduit, push it out. Push it out. Let's get it up. Let's get it up. Get the frequency up. Get the density consciousness up. Dissolve all the programming. We don't live in fear. We don't live in fear. Because this here, I'll share some last truth with you. If there was an asteroid headed this way, and you think she's going to allow that to happen? I mean, a lot of people just don't realize the level of what we got here. The Arcturians are here, okay? If you take a look at some of the pictures that are in Sechi, we're talking about being able to pull enough energy out of the sun to blow a planet up, let alone an asteroid. Put that in the hopper, okay? So this is all fear porn. Because let's put it this way, if you get 7 billion people to believe that shit, what do you think is going to happen? That's an enormous amount of psychic energy. It means they want it to happen. They believe it's going to happen. Well, I guess you want it to happen. Because they don't understand how a bidirectional mirror happens. They don't understand that they choose their experiences by the energy that they want to experience it with. Okay? So naturally, when you go to their schools, you're not going to learn how that works. They don't teach you how a holograph universe works in first grade or fifth grade. Which essentially, we're back to ground zero, 0 point. They're not learning through source. They're not learning through the girl on the planet. They're not learning through their heart, which is where the most powerful neurotransmitters are. Your heart is the most powerful intelligence there is. So they got to shut that down. Welcome to Black Goo. So anyway, have a great day. I love you all. The sun is up. The sky is blue. There's no smoke around anymore, and you can see the beautiful mountains up there by Lake Tahoe. Wave hi to Lake Tahoe. Hey, how y'all doing over there? Anyway, see ya.